What's good, Kansas City? You're listening to the Benchwarmers. I'm your host/producer, Brad Ross, and always sitting by my side, the one, the only, Ian Yoakum. Say hi, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with pretty much everything, including what we're about to talk about, the Royals.
You know, speaking of the Royals, they've been on fire this last road trip, and going into it, you were expecting nothing but 6-3 at the least to really put this team in position to win and compete, and they exceeded expectations. They went 7-2 on their West Coast trip, and really they're showing that they can put together wins and, most importantly, runs.
Yeah, and they're just really firing on all cylinders right now. And on a road trip, too. They did this on the road. It's going to be interesting to see if now they're coming back into town, if they can keep it rolling against a pretty good Red Sox team. But, man, I mean, the offense has really come alive. They haven't just been winning. Like, they have been winning convincingly, other than Saturday night where they lost 9-0. I mean, it's baseball. Every once in a while you're going to have those games. But as long as you bounce back the next day like the Royals did, they won 7-2 yesterday, and it was a very convincing win. There's no other way to say it. The offense, once again, they stayed hot, and it's looking very good right now. But, of course, the Indians have to keep winning now as soon as the Royals get hot, so it's still going to be an uphill battle from here. But it's pretty encouraging to see that the Royals are now playing up to their full potential.
Yeah, looking at the division, the Twins, they never really scared me. I know they're winning, and I think they're second now. But that's just a team that's not supposed to be winning, and that's a team that should really be like, show me in August if you're still in first, then I'll worry about you.
Right.
But, I mean, they're falling apart, and that was expected. But the one team that was confusing was the Indians. That was the team that everybody expected to win the division and win it easily. But they kind of were like the Royals. They were, stuck around 500. They weren't really putting together that huge win streak. But as soon as the Royals got hot, they're getting hot too. And it's a matter of who's going to get cold first to really take this division.
Yeah, and I think with the Indians, it's a bit of like a World Series hangover, to where, I mean, I know the Royals didn't have it in 2014. They went back to the World Series, but with some teams, I mean, it's a much longer season when you make it to the World Series. So I thought the Indians were going to come back this season and just be a strong team again. There was no reason to believe that they were going to get worse, and they haven't been playing as well. And so that kind of gave me some hope. Like, I mean, maybe the Indians, they're just not going to be that great this year. But now we're starting to see Cleveland playing like they're supposed to be playing. So, like you said, the Twins, I'm not really worried about them. I haven't been worried about the Tigers or White Sox at all this season either. To me, the Indians right now definitely have to be considered the favorite in the division. And maybe the Royals have a chance to catch up to them. I mean, we've said it before. The Royals just got off to such a bad start this season, and we were like, okay, it looks like they might end up being sellers. Like, this team's not good at all. I definitely thought, well, this is a bad team. Like, that's what I thought. I mean, I thought, okay, what I said was there was a lot of talent on this team, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be a good team, and they just did not look like a good team at all. They did not look like the same team as the one that went to the World Series, despite having most of the core important players on the team still. So I was just wondering where that went. And I kind of threw in the towel. I was like, this season's gone. But now, not only have they gotten hot, but they've gotten white hot. And so I have a little bit of hope again. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high, but maybe this team can make a postseason push. And once you make the playoffs, you never know. I mean, anybody that's in the postseason can win the World Series.
Text line 816-287-0090. If you have any questions, please send them in. So let's look at this road trip that they had, where they went 7-2. They had 7 wins and 2 losses. They won 12-6, 8-3, 8-1, 7-2, 7-2, and then 3-1. 5 out of those 6 are blowouts, and then you got the win last night, 7-3. So 6 out of the 7 are blowouts. They're outscoring their opponents by a lot. Yet when you look at the run differential between a division, Royals are still negative 33. Like, that's not good, and that just shows you how poorly they were playing at the beginning of the season. It doesn't do justice, though, on how well the team's playing now, but it still reminds you that, they took a whole month off, basically. Yeah. They really put themselves in the hole, and that shows you how much work they're going to have to do. This hot streak can't cool off now. It has to keep going. And I'm not saying they have to win 6 games in a row again, but they're going to have to win 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5. They're going to have to keep that pace going from here on out to really have a chance, because the end of the season really isn't in September. It's coming up in about a month with the trade deadline.
Yep.
If they're not hot through that time, they might be sellers. I'm looking at the other teams. The Indians, I know they're only 36-31, and we're only a few games back of them, but their run differential is plus 38. So they're outscoring a lot, and this is a team that if they do it, if their timing is right, they're going to get more wins, and that's what's scary. Other than that, though, the Twins, negative 44. That's worse than the Royals. Detroit, negative 9. Some reason, I'm just not scared of them. Kind of like the Twins. Show me that you can win before I worry about you. And then you got Chicago at the bottom, 31-37. However, their differential is plus 4. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess it just goes to show you, like, game by game. It depends on, some games can be blowouts, some can be close games. All that matters is that you win. And so run differentials can sometimes give sort of an insight as to how good or bad a team really is. But at the end of the day, all that matters is winning or losing. Going back to that point about the trade deadline coming up, to me, like, the Royals are going to have to be really good still when we get to that trade deadline, because I think Dayton Moore sees the situation that the Royals are in. Obviously, you have a lot of guys who are on their last year of their contracts, and if they all walk, which is a possibility, I mean, I feel like the Royals can bring back at least 1, maybe 2 guys from all the core players. We all know who they are at this point. So, I mean, unless the Royals are really good, like, Dayton Moore is probably going to try to get, maybe some prospects in return for these guys, especially because the farm system has been almost depleted. Like, it's not as good as it once was because the Royals traded guys away, for guys like Cueto or, Zobrist, what have you, when they were making those World Series runs. So unless the Royals just look like a great team and they continue this hot streak and try to take it to July 31st, I mean, they're not going to go, 6-2 every week or whatever, or 5-2. But as long as they look like a really good team, that's, I think, the only situation in which I see all of these guys staying throughout the entire season, because as much as you want to win now, it's always a gamble when it comes to buying and selling at the deadline, because, I mean, when you get into the postseason, there is a 1 in 10 chance of winning the World Series, and that's really rolling the dice. So let's say you don't end up winning it, and now you've lost everybody. You didn't get anything in return from them. I guess because of the small market, you can't shell out all the big bucks to get hardly any of them back. So even though a lot of teams, maybe if they're hovering around 500, wouldn't necessarily sell at the deadline, I feel like the Royals could be a team that does that just based on that situation.
This team has won 7 out of their last 10. And how are they doing that? Well, you look at their offense, and who's heating up? This is a team where people say everyone's doing good, everyone catches, the bug, and they're all hitting great. And then when one guy is cold, the rest of the guys are cold. Well, you got Hosmer. He's hot right now. Merrifield, his bat's doing great at the leadoff spot. Perez, Kane's all of a sudden hitting for power all around. Even Gordon's coming around. And you can't forget Moustakas and the power he brings. So half your lineup is just on fire right now. And that's what it's taking to, win these games. Well, what happens when those guys cool off? Will they still be able to win? Will the pitching still be able to handle the games despite having Duffy out and Nate Carnes out? Because when those two guys went out, that was a huge worry, but yet the team's playing at their best. So it's just going to be interesting how it balances out.
Yeah, I can see that point, but remember, all these games have been just almost blowouts or just really one-sided games. That's just how hot the offense has been. So I feel like they can afford to cool down just a little bit and still be able to go on these winning streaks because, instead of winning games 7-3, you could win a game 4-3. And that's what the Royals used to excel in that. They used to have a lot of comeback victories, walk-off victories. That's just how they do it. They come through in the clutch when you need them to. So yeah, I won't worry too much about the offense slowing down just because, they'd have to slow down a lot to go back to where they were earlier in this season.
Well, the reason the team used to be good at winning games 4-3 is because of the bullpen they had. Well, they don't have that this year. They got a guy named Travis Wood whose ERA is over 8. That's not good. And then you look at this team. This team has proven that if one guy is cold, they all start to get cold. You saw that at the beginning of the year. And then when one guy gets warm or gets hot, I don't know why I said warm. When one guy gets hot, then they all catch hot. So it does scare me a little if one guy starts to cool off, that if they're all going to cool off. That's my worry. But right now there's so many guys that are doing good that this team, like you said, hypothetically could afford to have one guy cool down because they're not all going to keep it up. We're not going to have Kane hitting 30 home runs either. But the pace he's on last week, and even Gordon with the power he's had, it's been really exciting baseball to watch. And, it's going to be a fun next month,
Mm-hmm. I'm not, like I said, I don't. It's hard to expect this team's actually going to make a postseason push. It's good to hope for it, and it's nice that they are playing really well right now, but it hasn't been that long. It's only been, how many games have they won out of their last, if I had the standings pulled up and I kind of lost them, but they've been on a hot streak this week. Last week they were kind of starting to get it rolling, and by this week I meant last week. The week before, I felt really encouraged by winning the series in San Diego and then splitting with the Astros. But, that's really how long it's lasted. We need to see a little bit more of this before, it really starts to look like the team is playing like the real team and not, the team in the first couple of months of the season. The losing skid was a lot longer than this short little winning streak. So I have to see more of this hot team before I really make a judgment on where this team is right now.
I learned my lesson because a couple weeks ago I was done with this team. Why? There's so many games in a season that it's just silly to, give up so quickly.
Well, define done. You were still...
Well, I was thinking they're going to trade.
Watching them.
I was expecting the team to trade. I'm going to watch because I like watching baseball. But I thought they were done, as in they were done being competitive and they were just going to lose and eventually trade out all the guys. But with this win streak, it's just anything's possible. These guys heat up so quickly.
Yeah, baseball's just such a streaky sport, though. It happens even with the worst of teams. It just depends on how long it lasts.
it's definitely not like the NBA, because you take one or two stars and all of a sudden you're unbeatable. And then it's not like the football. It's more like football, but not necessarily the same, because there's a lot of moving parts in football, but the positions aren't even. But when you look at baseball, the positions are pretty much even. I mean, there's all the hitters, and then you got pitching. Those are different, but you could debate which one's more important. And not one guy can carry a team. You look at Aaron Judge. Yes, he's still cranking out the home runs, but the Yankees have lost 6 in a row. And that's why the Royals, it's so important for all these guys to get hot, because Eric Hosmer is not going to, bail this team out by hitting 300 the rest of the season. It just depends on what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it really is a team game. The motto that the Royals have had in the past, keep the line moving. I mean, it's real, because you can string along a bunch of hits, and then all of a sudden, you ground into a double play, and it's over. It's just one guy, one weak link can really, just crash an inning. Or say one starting pitcher really just blows the outing. I mean, you just kind of need everybody on the same page, everybody contributing. And I guess that's just what we've seen from this team. So, yeah, it's definitely not like the NBA or NFL where one guy can really make a difference. And I think that is kind of what makes it difficult sometimes. Because, not one guy can carry the team. This has been an absolute team effort all around to keep the streak going. So we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting series coming up with the Red Sox. I think it's going to tell us a lot.
Definitely. A lot of people were talking about, they did win on this hot road, on this hot streak they've had on the road. Well, you look at the teams they're playing. San Diego, they were 26 and 33 going into the series, and then San Francisco, they've suffered so many injuries this year, and they were 29 and 33 going into that, another losing record. And then the Angels, who have been falling apart, and they continue to fall apart against the Royals, and they're now 33 and 35, whereas before the series they were almost at 500. And so it's just, the Boston's going to be a good test for them. Not only are they playing at home, where the Royals have been very mediocre in, but it's a team that's really good, and they're fighting the Yankees for that top spot in the division. And then, if that's not enough for you, you got to face Toronto, who has had a very cold start to the year. Don't get me wrong, but that's a team I would still keep an eye out on, because they got power, they got guys.
Yeah, Kendrys Morales is going to make his return.
Yeah, and they have the same record as the Royals, and they started off the year even colder than them. They're 33 and 35.
Yeah, I would say definitely, they kind of gradually gotten better at kind of a more spaced out rate than the Royals did, which is a lot of winning in such a short amount of time. But, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting series. I'm trying to look up the pitching matchups. I know Jason Hamill pitches tonight, and yeah, the Red Sox have a guy who has I believe it was a 6.48 ERA from when I saw yesterday. I'm trying to look it up again, and of course, the internet is not cooperative.
See, but that's the difference between the beginning of the year and where we are now. If we saw that at the beginning of the year, we would go, okay, well, this is the game where that guy's going to lower his ERA 2 runs, But now, with the offense so hot as it is, seeing a 6-point-something ERA doesn't scare me as much. I feel like this team, they're capable of...
And they're hot.
Yeah, they're capable of getting runs in, and especially with the power. I mean, so many guys are hitting home runs, and that's kind of what we thought this team would be at the beginning of the year, and now they're proving themselves worthy of, quote, being a power team.
I agree, yeah, and
poor man's power team.
Yeah, and then tonight with Hamill, I mean, he's been on a roll lately. He's pitched pretty well. He's pitched kind of like what I expected when he came here. So if we can have another good outing from him, the Royals can take the first game of the series. And then Tuesday night, it's Chris Sale on the mound for Boston. He's a great pitcher, and he'll be going up against, I believe,
it would be Matt Strom.
It would be, Matt Strom.
His second start.
Strom's second start. He had the great first start in Anaheim after he gave up a run in the first inning. He just shut down the Angels the rest of the way.
It was a beautiful performance, and
it was.
It's awesome because you look at his ERA; it's 3.67. I remember early in the year it was like 20, and he got sent down, and it was really ugly. No one saw this coming, and people were thinking, "Oh, was last year a fluke? Is this guy too young? Too much pressure?" Well, he's come back and he's proven himself worthy of being, I would say, reliable. One of those guys you can rely on, not only as like a reliever, but maybe even a starter, because they're out with these injuries and they need guys to step up, and he's definitely done that, at least in his last start. And you see Skoglund coming up and having one great performance and then falling apart in the next two games. You don't get that same feeling with Matt Strom. You feel confident putting him back out there. And I think with that's a great game too, if you can, win this game against the guy who has a 6.48 ERA. And then you win the series in that third game, you got Ian Kennedy on the mound. Takes a little less pressure off him.
Mm-hmm. That'll be a day game too. And you know what they say about day games, and when it's hot, the ball flies farther. So Ian Kennedy, he's known as a fly ball pitcher, but if he can hopefully keep the ball down in that one. I don't know, though. Maybe I shouldn't sit here and expect a sweep or hope for a sweep. I'm just going to hope the Royals can at least take the series. With Matt Strom, though, that would give him a pretty good confidence boost beating Chris Sale, because, I mean, when you're a starting pitcher, you kind of look at the matchup, and I think sometimes you kind of look at the other starting pitcher, the guy who's going against you, and obviously those aren't the only two players involved in the game. But I think that this would do a lot for Strom's confidence if he can win this game. Hopefully only, give up a run or two or maybe three to the Red Sox. At least get a quality start, and hopefully the offense can stay hot and get Strom another win. And I think Strom, honestly, is meant to be a starter. Now, I don't know if he's going to – how many innings he's going to go this time. They might try to limit his innings again, probably only 5 again. Although I'd like to see him go at least 6.
Depends on the pitch count.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the pitch count.
I feel like if they want a chance to win this game, they would have to go 6 innings at, a good amount.
Unless he can get some quick outs. Strom, he wasn't striking out guys left and right in Anaheim. If he can get a lot of those ground outs, those fly outs early in the count, maybe he can go farther into the game, maybe up to 70, maybe 80 pitches. I don't recall what the pitch count was in his first start. I just know he went 5 innings, but I don't know how many pitches exactly he ended up throwing. But it would be nice for him to go deeper into the game than 5 innings on Tuesday night.
As of tonight, Jason Hamill's ERA, it's still pretty ugly. But you look at his first 8 starts, he was 1-7. He had a 6.2 ERA, and opponents were hitting .320 off him. That's not good. You're not going to win with a guy going out like that.
Nope.
Especially against a team like Boston. But in his last 3 starts, he's 2-1, and his ERA is 2.21. That's great, and that's what we're expecting. And hopefully, Hamill evens out and finds a nice little groove in between those ERAs. Hopefully he's not the 6 ERA guy, but I don't think he can be the 2 ERA guy, but maybe he finds that groove somewhere in between where the 3.5, and he becomes that reliable guy in the rotation, because we don't expect him to be that ace, but he's also not a 5th starter, and we're not paying him as a 5th starter.
Nope. So I think he's going to keep it going. I don't expect him to get lit up tonight because he's a veteran. And he just kind of went through some struggles early on in the season. I think he's getting it figured out. So I have faith in Hamill. I think he's going to have a pretty good outing tonight. and hopefully the Royals offense can stay hot, because if they can, could be another blowout victory against the Red Sox starting pitcher Hector Velasquez, who he's only in the rotation right now because Brian Johnson, he's another Red Sox starter, has a shoulder injury. So he's making a second major league start tonight. So, and apparently he did not do very well in Oakland last week in his first start. So, I mean, this could actually be one of those things where maybe he figures it out the second time around. Maybe it's a reverse Eric Skoglund, where the first game was great for Skoglund, the second game not so much. Either that, or he's just going to be, once again, not a lot of experience. He's going to be rattled, and he's going to give up a lot of runs again. So I would say definitely the latter is a lot more likely. Because he was just inserted into the lineup, into the rotation, just suddenly like that because of an injury. So it didn't rattle Skoglund when he all of a sudden had to be called up due to Duffy's injury. But who's to say, maybe the same thing isn't happening with Velasquez. He just wasn't ready, and he got rocked against the A's.
Before we go to commercial break, we're going to take a quick look at some MLB power rankings and where the Royals rank among it. So Ian and I, we have two different power rankings from two different sources. I'm looking at ESPN's right now, and Ian's looking at
USA Today.
Ian has USA Today. I have ESPN. So on ESPN, the Royals are ranked 19th, and Ian and I both agree that that's a little low, especially when you look at the teams above them, like the Cardinals. They're 31 and 37, and then you look within the division too. You got Detroit at 14. You got the Twins at 13. Something's off there, and I don't believe that. And most notably, the worst thing about this list is where they rank the Yankees. The Yankees are a team that have lost 6 in a row, and we understand how much ESPN likes to cover them. But they're not second right now. They shouldn't be ranked second. And so this list is a little iffy. Ian, you want to share what you have on yours?
All right, well, the Royals are 16th in the USA Today rankings. I think definitely more realistic. Let's see. You mentioned the Cardinals and the Tigers being ahead of the Royals and ESPN's. In USA Today's, they have the Cardinals at 18 and the Tigers at 20. So that definitely makes sense.
Where do they have the Angels? Because that's a team we just took 3 or 4 from. Yet the Angels here are ranked 17th, still past the Royals.
They are 17th in these, too, but the difference being the Royals are ahead of them by 1 spot. So thankfully, the people that made the ranking list here on USA Today probably used their brains a little more. I've never liked ESPN's rankings are always just awful, not only for baseball but for the NFL as well. And then I don't even look at the other sports because I don't care about their rankings. But in USA Today's, they have the Yankees at 6, so they obviously should drop some spots for having a 4-game losing streak. So I would definitely vote USA Today's rankings as better than ESPN's.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I'm not saying this team should be in the top 5, but at least give them some respect. 19th. This team's hot. They deserve better than that.
They don't have a team that just, that the Royals took 3 or 4 from 2 spots ahead of them. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, quick commercial break, but when we get back, we're doing headlines of the week. And Michael Phelps, he's racing an animal you wouldn't believe. Coming up next on the Benchwarmers.
Hey, this is Sad. Listen to my Mega Music Hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. K-Roo Student Radio, UMKC, Kansas City.
Do not adjust your television set. I have taken control of your delta, theta, alpha, and beta waves.
I am the hot water that expands your mind.
I am the traveler, and I will bring you, dear passenger, on a psychic journey across the vast regions of space and consciousness. Tuesdays at 10 p.m.
Embrace the universe.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and listen to K-Roo every once in a while, you might miss it. You're listening to K-Roo Student Radio.
Hey guys, this is Lindsay. Listen to The Lindsay Show Mondays 4 to 6 on K-Roo.
I feel the need for K-Roo. Hey, come join us every Monday at Mike's because we're having way more fun than you.
I'm fat. That's why I'm sweaty.
Easy. James Madison.
Oh, I was off by one. That 8-year-old smoked you, man.
I mean, you know she's there. She touched your wiener.
Mike to Mike's is every Monday from 6 to 9 at Mike's Tavern, 5424 Troost, here on K-Roo Student Radio.
You know, K-Roo listeners, I love you, and I love rock and roll. And if you love rock and roll, listen to Archive 59 with me, Brian Will, from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday nights, only on K-Roo.
I hate to say this, guys, because he's normally an idiot, but Rand Paul may be right on this one.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Let's hope they find all the good acorns on the Democratic side of the aisle.
I'm not asking them to be Democrats. I'm just asking them to not be Republicans.
All right, listen, here's what it is. Tune into All That's Left, the best liberal show on the air, on K-Roo, every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. That's Central Standard Time, the best standard time. And here's what I'm going to do for you. If you listen, we promise not to put your grandma on Obama's death panel list. So listen.
Hey, this is Sad. Listen to my Mega Music Hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. K-Roo Student Radio, UMKC, Kansas City.
Tune into K-Roo March 9th through the 12th for all of your Summit League tournament coverage. It hurts my feelings when you don't listen. If you don't listen, I will hurt this puppy. Think about the puppies. Heart Stars and Horseshoes, Clovers and K-Roo. You're listening to K-Roo, Student Radio.
Hey guys, this is Casey. Make sure you check in every Wednesday from 3 to 5 for my show, The Ox. I'll be playing tons of great new music, so you can hear it first on K-Roo.
Welcome back from the commercial break. You're listening to the Benchwarmers on K-Roo Student Radio, home of the kangaroos, home of the students, home of radio. Text line 816-287-0090. Every time I do these like intros or openings, I I don't plan it out. I just kind of say what comes out.
That's one way to do it.
It's a bad way to do it, because then I just say weird things. But thank you for listening to us. We appreciate it. Once again, text line 816-287-0090. I guess that's one thing I should improve on, is planning on what I'm going to say.
Yeah, maybe just like make a little note of it or something.
Yeah, I'll make a note right here. All right. Anyways, it's time for Headlines of the Week. So Headlines of the Week, we do it every week at this time. We basically go around all the big sports and we look up big headlines from this past week, and then we talk about it, kind of share it with you guys, and then throw in our opinions. So we'll go ahead and start. So the first off, Golden State Warriors have officially won the NBA championship over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kevin Durant was named Finals MVP. Do you think that this championship will help or hurt Kevin Durant's legacy?
It's tough to say. I mean, it can't. I don't think it can hurt it, just because, I mean, how does a ring hurt your legacy? But if we're talking about his legacy overall, just the fact that he went to the Warriors will hurt his legacy when it comes to winning rings, because, I mean, anybody with a brain can tell, like, going to the best team in the league to try to win all your rings is not going to give you, how should I put it? What I'm trying to say is obviously a simple concept. The more talent you have on your team, the less credit should go to you, because it's very easy when you're a great player to play great when you have a great team around you. So he's playing on what could end up being the greatest dynasty of all time. I'm not that impressed. I'm just not, and I will never be impressed with a Kevin Durant ring in Golden State.
For me, there was two situations that would have happened. Either the Warriors win and Kevin Durant gets his ring, or they lose and he doesn't. Both, to me, would ruin his legacy, at least in my eyes and my opinion. I know, however, it's going to be different for 99% of the rest of the world. Right now, a lot of people are hating on him, but I know for a fact that with time, history's going to remember him, with his 2 or 3 rings. They're not going to think about the trade and his decision. They're just going to reflect on that. And I know that's a fact, because look at LeBron James. It's not even been 10 years. Has it even been 5 years since he was with the Heat, And those championships, the way he won those, is very similar to how Kevin Durant won his in the Warriors. Not exactly the same, but it's similar. And yet, people are always talking about, well, LeBron has 3 rings now, including that Cleveland one. They've already forgotten. I'm not going to forget, but as for everybody else, it's not going to hurt his legacy.
Well, yeah, with that LeBron argument, I feel like people use that when it's convenient. Like, everybody was hating on LeBron back then, and now somebody that did something even worse than LeBron did, Kevin Durant, a similar thing, but even on a more ridiculous scale. Now they're using it's the LeBron versus Durant thing, and now people are like, oh, well, LeBron has 3 rings. Let's see Durant's rings. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure Durant's going to end up with more rings than LeBron at this point.
Obviously, with the pay cuts and the team he's on, it's hard to imagine that one is all he's going to have. The Celtics trade their number 1 overall pick this year in the draft to the 76ers for a number 3 pick and a future first-round pick. You think this was a good trade? Good decision by the Celtics?
Well, I initially was confused by it, but I realized they just swapped the first and third picks. So I guess Boston wasn't really into Markelle Fultz, who's the guy that's going to go number 1 overall.
Neither am I.
So the Sixers really wanted him, so if you're the Celtics, you're going to get probably Josh Jackson will fall to you.
Who, by the way, I think is the number 1 player in this draft. Obviously, though, that's because of my KU bias,
I just think he's... I mean, I'm an MU fan, but I think he's the best player in the draft. If I have the number 1 pick.
I didn't watch a lot of college basketball other than KU this year, but I have this feeling where I don't have to, because I'm watching this guy and he can do everything and he has so much potential to grow. It's a wonderful guy. At first, I was confused as well. I thought this was a stupid decision by the Celtics. Why give up the number 1 pick? Well, you look at this draft, and I think it's pretty weak compared to years past. And you're only going down to number 3, and you're once again getting another pick for the future. This is how the Celtics got really good really fast. The Celtics, Lakers, they were playing in all those finals in 2008 through like 2010, and then they both, became bottom teams. Well, look at the Lakers. They're still there at the bottom, yet the Celtics have built their way back up, and part of that's because of all the picks they had, And to me, it's a good decision.
It's a good trade, I think. I think for both teams, because if you're the Sixers, if you really wanted Markelle Fultz, that's a great decision. I think Fultz, I have no reason to believe that he's not going to turn out to be great. So I think it's a pretty good trade for both teams.
Since we're on the subject of the NBA draft, recent update from Bleacher Report says that the Suns are trying to trade up for Lonzo Ball. I think that's pretty funny.
I'm just hoping that Lonzo Ball goes anywhere other than the Lakers because it will throw so much egg in his face. He would only work out for the Lakers. That is about the most arrogant thing ever. And people always talk about how his dad is so bad. He's just making Lonzo look bad. No. Lonzo Ball can make the decision himself. He's an adult now. He can say whether or not he wants to work out with other teams. Who in their right mind, like what other sport would this happen to where a player just wants to work out with one team?
Patrick Mahomes refuses to work out with any team except for the Raiders.
Can you imagine that?
You know how bad that would be? What you talk about Kaepernick and how his mindset's not right. Imagine a quarterback doing that, where I'm only working out with this team because they're going to draft me. Then
it's ridiculous.
Why would the Buffalo Bills or Texans, why would they want to draft a quarterback like that?
I know, and so just because of that, I hope Ball ends up going somewhere other than the Lakers because I think that would be hilarious.
Switching to the NFL, Jeremy Maclin, a former Chiefs wide receiver, has officially signed a 2-year, $11 million contract with the Baltimore Ravens. Me personally, I think that's a team that needs a wide receiver, and they're not in the division, so I think that's a good landing spot. He's also not going to a team with a quarterback like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, where they'll make him a superstar. So good for him. He's making money somewhere else. I'll miss him.
Yeah, and the Ravens aren't a bad franchise. They have a good head coach, have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Joe Flacco's not, he's not Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, but he can win. He's proven to be a winner.
He's done the one thing that Alex Smith still hasn't done yet.
That's true, yeah, with his arm, because Flacco has a strong arm and he has the ability to come through in the clutch.
And he likes the deep pass.
Yeah,
he likes the deep pass, which is Macklin's, one thing he likes to do, or one thing he's really great at that Alex Smith never, ever took advantage of.
Yeah, Macklin's supposed to be able to stretch the field. Maybe he's getting up there in age a little bit, but last season, even with the injuries that he had, Maclin, he still caught a few deep balls. You put it there, he can make the catch. He's a veteran. The Ravens, in a few years, they could be back to Super Bowl contention just with the front office they have, the franchise they have there. Maybe Maclin will end up getting a ring in his career. It's only a 2-year contract, but there are contract extensions. That does happen. So maybe Maclin will find himself a pretty good home in Baltimore, and at this point, it's just time for us to move on from him.
I teased it before the break, but here it is now. Michael Phelps is scheduled to race against a great white shark as part of Discovery Channel's Shark Week this year. Ian, who do you got winning?
I don't know. I would think a great white shark would win, right?
Well,
would think.
What do you think Michael Phelps' top speed is at swimming? 7-8 miles an hour? It's about that, I would
Is it?
assume. But I looked up how fast a great white shark can swim. You know how fast it is?
Faster than that?
25 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if there's going to be some kind of little rule in this race, or like he starts with a one lap ahead. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm sure it's going to be entertaining. Michael Phelps is usually a guy who entertains pretty well. He's a nice guy and very charismatic. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. Obviously, he can't outswim a shark, but it's fun to see what they
catch.
Yeah, fun to see what they plan. NBA, Paul George has apparently been reported telling the Pacers, the team he plays on, that he plans on signing with the Lakers as a free agent in 2018.
I have a huge problem with that, and I was actually getting into an argument with several people on a SportsCenter post about it. Well, maybe not several. A lot of people agree that that's just not something you should say, right? If you're Paul George, you're on the Pacers, you're basically telling your team, I'm gone after this season, and, oh, by the way, I want to sign with the Lakers. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Have you talked to the Lakers? Do you even know if they want you? And, I mean, I know Los Angeles is Paul George's hometown and all that. I just don't think this is something you say before the season during the last year of your contract.
This is what's happening. He's telling the franchise that for one reason. So instead for a trade, instead of letting him go after the year's over and maybe getting another 7th, 8th seed, they're going to go for a trade. And you know it's probably going to be with Cleveland, and he's probably going to go there, and that's going to eventually lead to, you know, a Warriors Cleveland matchup. But this isn't anything new. You look at the league, you look at all their champions in the past. It's the same, 6 teams rotating, with the exception of maybe one team every decade. I'm looking at it now. Dallas won in 2011. Detroit won in 2004. And then before that, you got the Bulls, you got the Lakers, you got the Spurs, and after that, you got the Heat, you got the Celtics. You got more Heat, you got Cleveland, and now you got Golden State joining that mix. So it's a league where it's always going to be a couple teams fighting for it, and the rest of the league, the 27, 28 other teams, won't have a chance.
Yeah,
and
it feels pointless.
It's one of those things I've come to terms with. When I was little, I wanted an NBA team here in Kansas City, but now I'm kind of okay. I'm good.
Yeah,
you think Kansas City is going to be treated like a Boston or LA, or you think they're going to be more like, you know, Milwaukee and, you know, Indiana? It's going to be, we're going to be one of those teams that might lock up a 7th seed, 6th seed, and then that's it. We're not going to get any players like LeBron.
No, so excuse me. Yeah, at this point I do not even want a team in Kansas City. It comes down to, if I personally had the choice, I wouldn't even want them to come. Like, I don't want an NBA team here. Because, first of all, I mean, it would be so crowded downtown if that's presumably
the city's not ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, they can't handle UMKC basketball games. How can they handle an NBA team?
That's very true. And, you know, there's only 1,000 people going to that. It's going to be like 20 times more crowded, assuming people go to the game.
People around here can get rid of their Lakers jerseys and
the
Celtics.
reason why Kansas City doesn't have a team anymore is because of the attendance. Nobody wanted to go, and maybe that's part of the reason. I know that there's enough people here to support a team, but it almost seemed not worth it just because, you know, these teams that go through and just win so many championships.
Yeah, and I feel like Kansas City would be able to support a team nowadays. I feel like sports interest in the city has gone up, especially with both the Chiefs and the Royals. Like,
you see it with college basketball.
That too, yeah.
Anybody in the city will watch any matchup.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the city could support a team. I just don't want it to happen, and I don't think it will happen anyway. I'm not offended by it. The NBA can keep the league the way they are.
We should focus on getting this city. We should focus on painting this city blue and yellow. UMKC Roos. That's a team that needs more support. We don't need NBA. We got them. All right, last but not least, actually you could say this is pretty least. During a promotional trip in China for Under Armour, New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady announced that his dream is to play a game in China someday. Do you like this, or do you dislike it?
I don't know. I'm tired of all these games going everywhere around the world, just an attempt to get more money and get more exposure to the league.
Why do we need to go to China for?
Yeah, I guess the only reason is money. I mean, you're taking away home games from teams by doing this, by going to London or, these other, cities. I'm still not happy about the Chiefs getting a home game taken away from them to go to London to play a game with the Detroit Lions, because what have we gotten from that so far?
And there are some individual fans who, can afford it, that packed up their bags, went to London, enjoyed the game there. But who's going to want to pack their bags and go to China? No offense to China, but that doesn't seem like a destination I would want to go to. And that's just me. I don't know about you, but I'm good.
I think China would be pretty cool as a, some place to visit. But as far as having NFL games there, I don't care for it. I don't care for taking away home games from teams, and I just think it's just a money grab. It's just to try to expose the league to all parts of the world, and I don't see NFL becoming a huge thing in China.
You think the fans and the players were all on the same side here about, not getting rid of home games. But now you got Tom Brady, the best player of all time, the face of the league, saying, I want to go to China. That'd be great. Well, who are they going to listen to? Are they going to listen to the millions of fans and thousands of players? Or are they going to listen to Tom Brady
Probably
and Roger
Tom Brady.
Goodell and their wallets? That's what they're going to listen to. Unfortunately, that sucks for us. But, at least hopefully the Chiefs don't give up a game to play in China to cross their fingers and hope to get the NFL draft here.
Yeah.
That'd be very frustrating.
I feel like Tom Brady, if he played for Arrowhead, if he was a Chief, I don't think he would say the same thing. I don't think he wants a home game taken from Arrowhead Stadium. Now, being a Patriot, Gillette Stadium isn't Arrowhead, so I can understand it if that's not,
And that's a good point, because I'm trying to picture Alex Smith or maybe someday Patrick Mahomes saying that. Oh, yeah, I'd love to go play in Madagascar. That would infuriate me as a fan, because I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, that's our home game. That's our 1 in 8 chances to go see you this year to play a game, and now you're taking that away. And for what reason? So you can go on a vacation for a day? That doesn't make sense. If you want to go to China or Madagascar or Chad or wherever you want to go, you got an off season to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you'd like, go play a pickup game, but don't take the team away from the fans. That's not fair.
Yeah, I would fully support exhibition games, preseason games in China, Madagascar of all places. I don't know, Sweden. Go ahead, Greenland. Just play a preseason game there. I don't care.
Or that's another
regular
good point.
Season.
Take our preseason games. Take those. Let them play.
Yeah. What's next? Like a Super Bowl in London? Can you imagine that?
I think that would be the beginning of the end for the league. Honestly.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a lot of talk about the popularity of the sport going down.
Yeah.
I'm not buying in it too much or worrying about that too much. If I were anybody who worries about that, I wouldn't. But shipping off the Super Bowl, that would not be a good business move.
Yeah, and I don't see it happening. I was
At
kind of
least long term.
exaggerating, but you never know. This past season the ratings were down in the NFL, and I just don't want to see Roger Goodell trying to, do too much to improve ratings in the league. And I don't know, just the way the NFL is headed, like, there's a lot of people that think, like, it's not going to be around that much longer because of many reasons, the safety issues and all that. Officiating seems to be getting worse. I don't know why. So I don't know. I don't want to see this league get ruined. I don't like the direction it's headed the past several years. When I first started getting into football, the league was almost perfect. And I don't think I'm just saying that because I was young and didn't know better. Because you could definitely see the changes if you even do research. Like, you can see the changes that the league has gone through, and now it's almost getting overexposed. And I just feel like if you give it too much exposure, I feel like that can really sink the league. People could get sick of it. A lot of people are already sick of a lot of the rule changes, which a lot of them don't even make sense, such as shortening the overtime by 5 minutes, moving the kickoffs, moving touchbacks, stuff like that. They're just trying so hard to, I feel like, fix things that aren't broken.
And even when they make a mistake and they try to fix it, for example, the touchdown celebrations, the way they fix it even, sucks. Like they release this instructional video of how to properly celebrate and say, ridiculous. You can celebrate, but you can't twerk. And it's just silly how this league operates and what their intentions are and how that affects the fans. It's just, there's no connection. They don't care.
Yeah, so I don't know, with this whole China thing, I guess that was our original point. If it's a preseason game, go ahead. If it's a regular season, which, by the way, I know the 49ers and Rams are playing in China in 2018.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a preseason or regular season, actually.
It's got to be a preseason game.
I'm going to look it up right now.
It's funny, though, because the Patriots seems to be one of those teams who don't lose home games. Yet Tom Brady's kind of rubbing it in our face, saying, oh, yeah, I'd take one.
Yeah. No, okay, so it is a regular season game.
Oh, wow.
The headline, 49ers-Rams planned for China in 2018. It's a regular season game. I guess it'll be week 1. So, I mean, that kind of stinks for, I don't know if it's a home game for the 49ers or Rams. If it loads. It's going to be, I guess part of it is I think it just has to do with the LA Coliseum because the Rams don't have their stadium yet. So it is a Rams home game, and they're just taking one of their home games to China.
See, now I understand the exception there with their whole deal and how I think they're playing in a soccer stadium that only fits 20,000 people.
It's the Chargers, but yeah.
It's the Chargers. We'll say those teams, I understand shipping those home games off. But why China? Send it to a city that doesn't have an NFL team. It would make more sense to just keep it in the United States. But you know what? Maybe that's just my American opinion, and it's very American,
Yeah, I guess NFL is somewhat popular in China. At least somewhat. Maybe it's more popular than I believe. You would think the people in charge of making these decisions know when they're going to a place like China that it's a good business decision. So, I don't know. It's not. All I know is, as a Chiefs fan, as long as the Chiefs aren't getting any home games taken away from them, it's whatever. But don't take any more Chiefs home games. Don't take us to London again to play some team like the Lions. Let's keep all of our home games here at Arrowhead.
Yeah, if we're going to be a serious contender, let's keep the games here. Forget the NFL draft. We don't need it. Let's just win games here. Well, I'm looking forward to, I think this Thursday, the NBA draft is coming up. I'm really excited to see where, Lonzo Ball falls. It'll be really fun to see him fall down.
Want to make a bet about where he goes?
Okay, well, I know for a fact he's not going to the Lakers. I don't know what you feel about that.
I think he is going to be a Laker.
Okay, well, there's our bet. And what should be the prize?
It could be the chair, but is that exciting enough?
I don't know. Let's change it up. Let's make it something else. I'm trying to think of something here. It's great. It's great thinking on the fly when you're on radio.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's bad to have dead air. But when I'm thinking, I gotta think. How about some kind of food?
All right.
Like, I don't know, a 6-inch sub from Subway?
We could do that, yeah.
Okay.
6-inch sub from Subway. When would this be? Monday, next Monday before the show.
Just within the next week, yeah. Between Thursday and Monday.
Okay,
right.
I'm down for that.
All right, so if Lonzo Ball goes to the Lakers, I owe Ian a 6-inch sub from Subway. If he doesn't go to the Lakers anywhere else, I'm getting that sub. Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers. I'm Brad. He's Ian. Have a good day.